Hey friends, and welcome to the Happy Hour with Jamie Ivey podcast. I'm your host, Jamie, and I'm so glad you're here. Each week on this show, I invite a girlfriend to join me and we chat about the big things in life, the little things in life, and everything in between. Introducing Patio Shield Zone Mosquito Repellent from Thermacell. If you enjoy being outdoors, I do. Hate mosquitoes? I hate mosquitoes. You're going to love Patio Shield. Patio Shield creates a 15-foot mosquito protection zone. It's lightweight, portable, and comes in 3 bold colors. Discover for yourself why Thermacell repellers are so highly rated and backed by 100% satisfaction guaranteed. Thermacell Patio Shield. Turn it on, mosquitoes are gone. Guys, you can use the code HAPPYHOUR to save 20% on Patio Shield at thermacell.com. Friends, you are listening to episode number 196, and my guest is Rachel Henry. Rachel is a mama to some super cute kids, and I know they're cute because I saw them when they all rolled up to my house in an RV from Florida, and they just came out one by one looking cute. She homeschools them, and today she sits down with me to talk about parts of her story that are pretty difficult and scary. But she shares the redemption that has happened in spite of this super scary night that we're going to talk through. I want you guys to know that this episode is a hard one. I'm letting you know up front. If you are a person who struggles with fear, you might want to have a close friend listen and then let you know if it's okay for your heart to listen to it. Maybe they can even tell you which part to skip because the whole episode is not focused on what happened. At the very beginning of the episode, Rachel gives us a summary of what happened this night, and then we talk through that night for the rest of the episode. I'm going to be super honest with you guys. I've gone back and forth a lot about even airing this show or not airing the show. Not because of anything Rachel did. She was lovely and I loved our conversation so much, but because I don't want to cause any of you to be fearful. But here's where I landed. And I promise you, I sat on this for a long time. Here's where I landed, you guys. This part of Rachel's story is horrific. But you know what? It's not without hope. And that is where I landed. I hate that this happened to her. I hate it with all of my being, and you will hate it too as you listen. But her story didn't end that night of this tragedy. And what happened this night is not what defines Rachel as a person. You're going to hear her tell us that the morning after this tragedy, she actually prayed for the men that had raped her. You guys, I was blown away by that. Completely blown away. And that is why I am airing this story, is because there's more to it than a tragedy that happened when men broke into a woman's home and raped her. The story continues and the story gets better and the story is full of hope and forgiveness. This world is full of hate and terrible things, but as Christ followers, we are not without hope. We are not at a loss of what will sustain us through things like this. Rachel's story shows us just that. She actually looked at all of her attackers in the eyes at sentencing and she said, I forgive you. Guys, I was blown away when she said that. You're going to be encouraged by her story. I can promise you that. Also, just to let you know, the bulk of our interview is not what actually happened that night, but it's how she walked through it in the years afterwards. So if you think it's going to be too much for you, have a friend listen and have them tell you, just don't listen to these minutes of the show. But I really, really, really think that if you can get through it, you're going to walk away super encouraged by her story. On the flip side, you guys, there are so many fun things happening right now with the happy hour. First of all, we just started our summer book club reading for June, and it's a good one, good one, good one. Come join us. There's information about how to join over on my Instagram. Just scroll down until you see the picture about Happy Hour Summer Book Club for June. We're reading the book No One Ever Asked. And I read it this spring and I really, really loved it. It's why I picked it for the summer. Also, you guys, the next Happy Hour Live tickets are up for sale right now. You're going to want to snag these because we're in a smaller venue, which means we don't have as many tickets. Go to jamieivey.com/events, and that's where you can find all the information. If you love gathering with girlfriends, if you love laughing, if you love good food, if you love amazing goodie bags, then you're going to love these nights. The guests this year are amazing. My guests every time are amazing. And every time we host a show, I'm like, these guests are amazing. And they are. They always are, though. You're going to love it. I hope that you can join us for the book club this summer. I hope that some of you can come to the Happy Hour Live event. But most of all, I'm super thankful that you show up here every Wednesday. I've said it 100 times and I'll keep saying it. The stories change the world. In Rachel's story today, it's hard to listen to at some points, but I'm telling you, her story is going to minister to somebody. I don't know, maybe it's you, maybe it's a friend, maybe you need to deal with forgiveness. Maybe you've been hurt before and you can see hope in Rachel's story. If nothing else, you guys, we can see what God's love can actually do to our wounded hearts. All right, you guys, here is my conversation with Rachel Henry. Hey, Rachel, welcome to the happy hour.
Thank you very much.
You and your family just rolled up into Texas in an RV.
We literally pulled in your driveway. I didn't know if we were going to make the turn.
Why an RV?
Well, I have 6 kids and
6 beautiful kids.
Thank you. I love them all.
They kept getting out of that RV and
coming.
Yes, coming. And they got like prettier and prettier.
And then I came out last to keep up that.
You have beautiful kids. I'm serious.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, we drive a 12-passenger van.
Really?
Normally.
Yes.
Because I like to take my kids and their friends. And so.
Is it like the straight across seats? Like I'm thinking of like youth van?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a little newer style.
Okay.
But yes. And keeping the little ones strapped in their seats for 20 hours is a long one. So we're like, let's rent an RV. We came from Florida.
Okay. Tell us the ages of your kids.
My oldest is 9, boy, twin girls that are 8, a 6-year-old girl, 2-year-old boy, and an 8-month-old baby girl.
So you have 3 super close. And then a little break.
Yeah, it's like 2 years, 2 years, 3 years, 2 years.
So you gave yourself another year.
Yeah, 1 extra year in there.
Okay, 6 kids. You live in Florida. So before babies, did you work?
I actually had my first baby when I was still in college. So I got married halfway through college to my high school sweetheart. Simon is his name, and had a baby before I was done. So I sort of worked. I have a degree in interior design. I did little things on the side, but never really like put myself out there like I would have without kids.
You're the friend that everyone calls that's like, hey, can you help me with this in my house? And they're getting free interior design work.
I love it when they do that.
Okay, good.
I do.
Good. I have a friend like that as well. In fact, when we were looking to buy our house, which is this old log cabin, well, I say log cabin. It sounds like we live in like a 1-room cabin.
It's so beautiful.
It's a big house.
Modern.
It's a very modern, but it is
a
log cabin. And she is an interior designer. And I made her come out here with me with the realtor the second time. And I was like, you tell me if I can live here. Like if you say I can, I will. And
I'm glad she said yes.
She said yes. And so I'm sure you get that call a lot. Does this pillow look right? How can I do this?
Yeah. I'm usually like, you're of good taste. Go with your gut. Like, you can do this. So.
Can we always take that? Just go with your gut?
It depends on the friend.
That's exactly right. It's exactly right. Okay, so I was talking to you before you came in, and I was trying to remember how I got your information because we've never met until this moment.
Yes.
And you reminded me that a friend of yours had said, hey, can I send in you as a guest suggestion? And you said, sure. So is this your first podcast interview?
Yes, it is.
Welcome to the happy hour. It's your first podcast interview.
Thank you. Going big.
Going big. That's right. That's right. Brought the whole family in the RV for the interview.
I know, right?
Yeah.
We could have done this on Skype. I was like, no way.
No way.
We're going to do an adventure.
I'm so glad you're sitting in my office. It's so much better.
Yes.
And you're cute as can be. And I feel like I can say that because my kids are older and I'm older than you. So I can call you cute.
Thank you.
Okay. But she sent in your story and we're going to jump right in.
Go for it.
Is that okay with you? And I want to tell you up front as well, is that this will be my first conversation to have like this. So if I say anything insensitive, you have every right to correct me on air. Got it?
That's fine.
Deal? Okay.
As long as you don't feel afraid to ask something you're afraid is insensitive. I really am not easily offended.
So you want me to ask what I'm thinking?
If you think of a question that you're like, oh, I don't know if I should say that, ask it. Because I think a lot of people don't. And I'm always curious
to what we want to know.
What are they wondering? Yeah.
Deal. Okay. Thank you for giving me that permission. Okay. So I want to also set the stage real quick for the listeners is that we're going to talk about probably some things that if you have kids in the car, you should maybe listen first before you, because I have a lot of, I'm thinking specifically about a sweet listener, literally, who's like 9 years old who loves my show.
Oh, that's sweet.
But Mama, you might want to listen to this one first. Okay. So let's go.
Oh, and in addition to that, there is just the nature of it could evoke fear. If you're someone who is easily afraid to be at home alone without your husband, or if that's an issue in your life that you need to work through, either don't listen or listen all the way to the end so that you hear how it ends and hear the confidence.
And have a friend who, that knows that you might struggle with this. It could also trigger some stuff in someone's life as well. So look at all of our warnings. Like, here we go. If you've got
everyone's going to be on the edge of their seat.
If you've gotten through this, you're ready. You're ready. Okay, so you have endured something that, like you said, I mean,
it's your worst
fear. If I were to list my greatest fears in life, this would be in top 3. That's for sure. I just literally got chills just saying that because it really would be top 3. Real quick, tell us what happened so we can get people off the edge of their seats, and then let's go back and talk about it.
Okay. shortest sentence I can say, my home was broken into on a night my husband was out of town, and it was 3 men who broke in, wanted electronics or whatever. But once they realized my husband wasn't home, obviously took advantage of the situation, and I was raped by all 3 of them.
Did you have a child at home?
All 4 of my children at the time were home
Asleep.
Yes.
Okay, there it
There it
was.
is.
What year was this?
This was the summer of 2014.
Oh my gosh, you haven't even been 4 years.
Mm-mm.
Okay. All right. So let's go back to the very beginning. Just because, like we said, greatest fear. How did this even start? When you think of someone breaking into your home, I mean, I picture breaking windows, pushing down doors. What did that even look like, the invasion?
They, from everything that we could tell, they opened, or I had left the window open in the kitchen.
Like open or unlocked?
A couple inches
Okay.
open.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess they saw that and pushed it open, took off the screen, climbed in, which I'm amazed I didn't hear because they had to climb over my clean dishes to get in. So,
Because you were asleep.
I was asleep. Just to kind of the layout of the house, my bedroom was downstairs, and I could actually see from where my head was on the pillow, like through our living room, through the kitchen, all the way to my back door.
Okay.
So they had come into the kitchen and then let in the 2 other ones through the back door. And that's actually the moment where I woke up, because I had chimes hanging there above the door that no one in our family was tall enough to hit with their head. Mm-hmm. But I always joked it was my security system, because if someone taller came in, I would hear it. And sure enough, that's what I woke up hearing. And, you're sleeping. It's 2:00 in the morning. You're not oriented, but kind of that thought of Simon, is that my husband? And
because he's out of town.
He was actually only 3 blocks away. He was staying on the campus of a college that he worked at. We only lived a couple blocks away, and he was required to sleep there overnight for his doctoral classes that they did during the summer.
Okay.
It was 1 week, and this was the second night he was gone.
Okay.
So he was close, but not there.
Yeah.
So I'm out of bed. I'm walking towards something that I'm fairly certain is not him.
Okay. You got up out of bed and just started walking towards...
I did. And the only thing, obviously you go back and wonder, why did I do certain things? Like my phone was right by my head. Why did I not just sit there and call 911? I just had, you didn't think in that moment. It was like, I'm mama bear right now.
Your babies. Yeah.
My husband's not here to be like, go see what that is. So I just got up and went. And as I got to the kitchen, there was 3 men right in front of me with hoods on. It was completely dark. I couldn't see them. And
in your first thought?
It's kind of a surreal moment. It's like they're in your space.
Yeah.
So it's very intimate immediately. When someone is that close to you in your house, it just feels wrong, but also you're very close to them. So I tried to just talk in very normal conversation and not to freak out, and just okay, let's work this through. What do you want? And they wanted money. They're give us your money. And I literally that week had taken all of our change jars to the bank because our account was overdrawn or something.
Yeah.
And so I was like, I don't have any money to give you. And they just kind of kept asking questions. Well, where's your husband? Or do you have a phone or all this? And I was like, well, no, I don't have my phone, meaning I don't have it on my person. No, I don't have that. He's not here tonight or whatever. And it was kind of, I don't know what their plan was. But at that point, 2 of them said they were going to go search the house. And the other one grabbed my elbow and walked me towards the back door. Another one of those moments, I wonder, why did I not fight that? They went up the stairs to where...
Did you tell them I have kids up there?
I did. They started walking and I said, stop, my kids are up there. Don't touch my kids. And for whatever reason, I trusted them because they were like, we don't want your kids. We're just looking for stuff. And I don't know. I don't know why I didn't fight. I think my whole thought process, if you can even have thought in that moment, was if I give them what they want, they'll leave.
For sure.
And one of my daughters, one of the twins who was 4 at the time, was actually sleeping with me. So there's 3 upstairs and she was downstairs with me. So at that moment, I'm taken to the back of the house. 2 are upstairs and 1 is with me. And so he puts me, I'm the furthest away from my kids. And at that point he says, take off your clothes. And I obviously hesitated, but again, not much thought, just, I don't know what else to do. I can't fight a man. movies aren't realistic. Like,
Right.
obviously
Yeah.
now I've had self-defense since then. And I know there's things that I could have done.
Seriously, like you have.
I went through, I went through a self-defense class, which was extremely emotional, empowering.
Yeah.
Yes. To go through after this,
I'm
you know,
sure. I'm sure.
But in that moment, I felt helpless.
Yeah.
And like, if I give them what they want, they'll leave. So from that moment on, I was raped by him. The other two came and we went to, different area in the house, and this continued. At one point they stopped and they said, "Swear to God that you're not going to tell anyone what we did, or we're going to come back and kill your kids." And, the thought of that, and I struggled. I was like, I can't lie. I know I'm going to tell somebody in the morning, but of course I'm going to say, okay.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, I swear.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know who you are. I don't know what you're capable of.
So let me stop you for a second, because there are a couple of questions.
Yes.
And you gave me permission to ask. And so I'll tell you, I read the police reports.
Oh, did you?
I did. And I cried when I read them. I cried. I did, because it was very detailed. Obviously, it's police reports. And I had never met you. And so now I feel even more emotional after sitting here across from you just for 10 minutes and then remembering those police reports. Okay, so here are my questions I'm having so far as a listener. Are they still have their mask on the whole time?
They were never masked.
The hoods.
But they had hoods. I mean, I could tell their race. I could hear their voices. I could see their clothing. But I couldn't, that was about it. I don't think I'd be able to pick them out of a crowd.
You thought, I can't. Okay, so, and then in the midst of this happening, how many hours are we talking about?
They were probably only there, it wasn't very long.
Okay.
40 minutes.
The whole thing. Okay.
And just to kind of go back, like from the time when that process began and they're taking me to a different area in the house, I started praying out loud. Jesus, protect my children. Please keep them asleep. At one point, they took me to a room that was on the opposite side of where my other daughter was sleeping. And just that thought of like, what if I don't want them to wake up
and see
this. Like, can you imagine the torment a child would have, and then the scars the rest of their life?
Yeah.
Jesus, keep my kids asleep, please.
What did they say when they heard you praying out loud?
I can't actually remember if they made any remark to it or they were just quiet.
Yeah.
And I tried to be candid with them as far as like, why are you doing this? Like, I wanted to connect with them on that level and be like, can you think about what you're doing? Like, and they didn't make much sense when they were talking. One had said something about running away with him. Like, I was like,
were they on drugs?
I don't know.
You don't know.
I don't know. And I don't, there's no way to go back and obviously know for sure what was going on. But
yeah.
So then moved to another room.
Why the moving?
I think it first started in a bathroom and then they wanted to go somewhere else. We ended up in like an office room. And then they were like, is there anywhere there's a bed, basically? So, and we did have one room that had a twin bed that wasn't being used. So that's where we ended up. And, so, yeah.
So 40 minutes. And I don't know why I thought it was longer. So 40 minutes.
It happened very quickly. When you hear, like, it was, when all was said and done, it was 12 counts of rape. But that can happen. I mean, bang, bang, bang. It's like, it's not like.
Yeah. Were you crying?
No. And when I think back, like, I didn't feel terrified. Like, I didn't feel super afraid. It was like this was happening to my body, but I wasn't letting it ruin me in that moment. Like, I felt like I had a clear head. There was one moment after they kind of had their way with me, they wanted to go keep looking for more things in the house. They went around, they found my phone. I was standing in that room and I could look out and I saw them across my living room in my bedroom where my daughter's sleeping. The lights were on and he's rummaging through drawers, like beside her.
She never woke up.
She never woke up. And I was just, obviously
Jesus.
Like praying the blood of Jesus over this place. Like,
yeah,
God, please don't let her wake up. And they at one point came and shut that door where I was. And I had the window open in the room. And I thought, I want to run away. I want to get away. But
your kids.
You can't go.
Yeah. I just listened to a podcast recently with Elizabeth Smart. Do you remember her? She was in Colorado or Utah, I think, and was kidnapped out of her house when she was a teenager and held captive for 9 months.
Wow.
And listening to her talk about that experience, that ordeal, which was 9 months, and we're talking about 40 minutes here, both still as gruesome and awful. I see a lot of similarities in just like, you do what you have to, like they threatened her to kill her family if she ran, and so you take over where you think, what I'm assuming, I have never experienced this, but it sounds like you just take over and what do I need to do to protect the people around me? Yeah.
And again, you go back, you think, how else could have I done it? Like, what if I would have tried kicking them in the balls or, those things that you hear to do. Well, any way that I play it out where I would have even tried something more violent, it always ends up worse. Yeah. Like the police end up at my house and then my kids are woken up and it's just this big traumatic event. And that's not the way it played out. So even though I wonder how it would have been different, I can't go there because it happened the way it did.
So here's a question I do have. And again, I hope it's not insensitive. 12 counts of rape. I assume that is raped 12 times, but then you told me 40 minutes. And so that seems impossible.
Okay. So a rape is considered, like one count is any interaction between a private part of different bodies. So like one count of oral rape.
Okay.
And that could have happened multiple times and that can happen within 3 minutes.
For sure.
So so that's kind of where you get the multiple counts. And then since there was 3 of them, it's not like they were, this is a lot of information. It's not like they were finishing every time they penetrated, if that makes sense.
But then each time that would be a count.
Yes.
Yeah. So when this is happening, are you thinking, what am I going to do when they leave? Or are you staying in the moment the whole time of just protecting right now? Because I'm thinking like, you see all we know is movies, right? And I'm wondering, are you thinking, okay, as soon as they leave, I'm going to do this and do this and do this? Or were you just figuring out, what am I going to do right now in this moment?
Totally in the moment.
Yeah.
So, and I tried, there was one point I tried talking to one, like, how old are you? And he wasn't answering. And he finally said 18, which I found out later isn't even true.
I was going to say, I remember in the police reports, wasn't there a minor?
I mean, technically, I don't know if 3 of them are. I don't know how old you're. If 2 15-year-olds.
Yeah, that's minor.
And a 17-year-old.
That's all minors.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
These are babies.
They are. And, I didn't know that until a couple of weeks later.
Wow.
And that changed my perspective. If I would have known that, I probably would have talked to them a little differently, like more like a mother,
Where's your mom?
But I had no idea. I didn't know if they were older or younger. And so there was that fear a little bit of like, I don't know what you're capable of.
And they have the power. I mean, that's just you were powerless.
Yeah. And one thing I am thankful for, which could have made the situation totally different, is that there was never any threat or showing of like a weapon or being violent with me in the way of like beating or anything like that. Obviously, rape itself is a violent act, but outside of that, there was no aggression, which I'm very thankful for. That would have been a very different situation.
For sure. So 40 minutes, how did they leave?
They forced me to bathe, which maybe was their way of trying to cover it up. Maybe they saw it in a movie. I don't know. And then...
now, when you say bathe, bath or shower?
Bath. They're not so bright. Because in her bath, how much can you really get off?
Exactly. It's because they're 15.
Yeah.
So are they watching you?
No. They were talking in the kitchen. They were gathering, they had our computer. They had my phone. They took my son's backpack, which he was still bitter about because it had his cool stuff in it, They took his change off of the top of the fridge. And so they were trying to get the Wi-Fi password from me when they were in the kitchen. I don't know if they were like planning to text their friends. I don't know what they wanted. And then they were kind of just done. And then they're like, come shut the door behind us. And okay, as I went in to shut the door and the last one out, have a blessed night, he says. I was like, really? What are you talking about?
So you shut the door.
And I stood there and watched. I wanted to see where they went. We had like an alley behind our house. And so I could see them go, and I stood there for a little while.
And they took your word. I'm not going to tell anybody.
Well, I mean, yeah. I mean, obviously that was just to scare me. So you stood there.
When did panic ever set in?
No. And I'm standing there. I'm like, what now? What do I do? Do I go tell somebody? And I sat there, tried to rack my brain. Do I have any way to contact somebody without leaving my house? And I didn't. They took everything. I had neighbors close by, but I'm like, it's the middle of the night. What if one of my kids wakes up and they can't find me?
What if they haven't gone very far?
Yeah. Like,
And
what
did
if they
you
would come
imagine
back?
that?
Yeah, I didn't know. So I just felt, I was like, I just need to stay here until the morning. Um, I went and like put back on my same clothes and went and actually tried to lay back down in bed. But then the smell of them on me, I hated it. I went and took a shower. And then laid on my couch and just laid there and laid there. And then one of my kids actually did end up getting up and had to go to the bathroom. Help him go to the bathroom, put him back to bed. And she wanted me to lay with the one that was sleeping with me. So I went and laid with her and obviously didn't sleep.
Yeah.
I remember as soon as I saw light start coming in the window, that was like the best like sight. Okay, it's day.
I made it through the night.
We can do this now. Like we can move on. I think it was a God thing. All my kids that morning had play dates arranged already that I was going to go look at antiques or something fun.
Yeah.
So they already all had places to go. And I was just trying to think about them. What can I do for them to make this as normal and not scary? And so I prayed about it and I was like, okay, God, you're going to help me. Once it was light out, I went and got my journal and my Bible and I started writing down what I remembered about them, like the details.
Are your kids already gone by now?
They're still sleeping.
Okay.
I wrote down details of what I remembered. I tried to write down kind of a little bit what have happened, and I wrote down a prayer for those three. And
what was your prayer for them?
For conviction, for God to win their hearts, to bring them to justice in a way. But I mean, I didn't know exactly what that meant even at the time. But that they would be caught, mostly because I would hate to think that they would do this to someone else.
Mm-hmm.
And praying that something that I might have said or that they heard while they were there might have pointed them to Jesus.
That was a really bold prayer.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's that part of you that's, because we have faith and because we know the truth, you feel sorry for people that are so lost. So yeah, I knew they needed prayer.
So you write down the details.
It was recycling day. That's what I was. Okay, this is like the type of person I am. I'm like, oh, I should take the recycling out to the road.
Okay. So
I do that. I take it out, and on my way back, I see my purse in the alley. I'm like, oh, okay. So I go and get my purse, and there's like my credit cards are thrown everywhere. I'm collecting those, and I take them all back in the house. My kids start waking up, and I like make them breakfast. We're ready to go. Like, guys, we got to go get Daddy. And I want you to sit down. I'm going to tell you why.
Now, were you supposed to go get your husband, or you're just going because of this?
Yeah. I was like, guys, sit down. I have to tell you something. And I feel like at that moment, God reminded me of this Adventures in Odyssey story that we listened to, where the Barclays family, all of their stuff gets stolen the night before Christmas, all their presents and everything. So the kids had this idea of knowing about that. And I feel like God just gave that to me, and I told them and used that to tell them. And I was like, someone was in our house last night. They took my phone and our computer, and we need to go tell Daddy. And so, they're innocent questions. Why would someone do that? Yeah. And just explaining to them that people who don't love Jesus and don't have a truth like that, like they just take what they need, and they probably needed it more than us. And it's okay. It's just our stuff, but we need to go tell Daddy. So we did.
So up until now, the way you're talking, you seem so just, this is what I'm going to do. This is what's next. You haven't alluded to me at all. Panic, fear even. I mean, I'm certain you were afraid, but you sound so, okay, here's what happened. In that moment, is that your personality? Because you sound like, okay, I'm going to take the recycling out. I'm going to write down details.
Yeah.
I saw my purse. I picked it up. I waited till my kids woke up. We're going to go get Dad. Like, is that you, or was this supernatural?
I would say it goes along with my personality. Not emotionally driven, which I think does play a big part in your recovery and your healing and how you handle those situations. Okay,
so you go to find your husband. This is where I can imagine this story becomes even more difficult. Tell me how this all went down. You've got all your 4 kids in the car.
Yep.
I mean, that's a bomb to do. Tell me, because I'm curious as to how this, by the way,
Yeah. I mean, it unfolded. I was planning on, breaking it to him gently, but he walks out into the hallway after seeing me, wave in the window. And as soon as he's in the hall, the kids.
You haven't called the police?
I did not, because I didn't have any way to call them as of yet. Like, I didn't want to stop somewhere else. I thought, should I go to the police first or should I go to my husband first? Well, of course I'm going to go to my husband first. Like, I need him to go through this. So I figured once I talk to him, then we can
do this together.
Move forward. Yeah.
Okay.
So as soon as he's in the hallway, the kids just are like, Daddy, we were robbed.
You're like, kids, yeah.
And so, he didn't, at first he's like not reacting that badly. Like, oh, like, what, did they take something from the yard or,
totally.
Stuff like that. And kind of finding out, oh no, they took our phone and the computer. What do you mean they? Well, there was 3 of them. Well, how do you know? Well, Mom talked to him. And then, the interaction with me. And so we stepped away a little bit from the kids, and there was like juice or snacks that they had. And I had a hard time again because I had promised that I would not tell anyone. And I'm like such an honest person that I was like, how do I tell him? Because I said I wouldn't tell.
Really? You really thought that?
I did.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, ask me yes or no questions, because I didn't feel bad about that.
Okay.
Oh, it's like silly looking back. But,
No.
it's like those convictions run deep. And
Yeah.
Okay. So he asked me, like one by one, like, did they hurt you? Did they touch you? And, and just like once I said yes to one of those things, then I was like free to tell him.
Yeah.
It was kind of just like breaking that barrier. So we embraced. And,
what was
and
his?
cried.
What did he say? I'm going to cry right now.
I would probably have to ask him more than me. Like, that moment is not as vivid for me as I'm sure it is for him.
I'm sure it is for him.
I know that he held me. I don't remember what he said or if he said anything.
Did you cry here? When's the first time you cried about this?
I can't remember.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. But he immediately, his next thing was go call the police. Like, he went to the closest phone and called, and we were supposed to meet the police back at the house like right away.
Mm-hmm.
So that's when.
And then you had to tell your
started.
story a lot, I'm sure, after that.
Yes. Yeah. So that was a long day, because first we went to the house, just met them, told them the bare basics, just so they could kind of, I guess, start an investigation. It turns out there was multiple homes robbed that night by, we're assuming, these same people. But,
is it true now? Do you know that? Or
Yeah.
Okay. So but that night, that morning, it was also an assumption, but now we know that it is.
Yes.
True. Okay.
Yeah. And even little things like, apparently they had broken into an elderly woman's home an hour earlier than ours, and she like let them take her purse but didn't call the police that night. And it's like, if she would have called, I wonder if they would have found him first, or they would have been in the area and they might have seen him, or you just wonder things like that.
All around your house.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Have you talked to that woman ever?
No, I have no idea who it was.
Okay. Okay. So the police come.
Mm-hmm. We tell them. I walked one of the detectives, or maybe that was later in the day, and I can't remember which time was which, but had to walk them through the house, showing them this is where certain things happened. I know for sure they touched these light switches, because they look for DNA, fingerprints, all that stuff, which there was plenty to be found.
Yeah.
Went to the police station, had to give the full report there. And then figuring out, the kids, we've had people come pick them up right away in the morning. They were gone all day. We had friends who, the husband is actually a psychologist and his wife is an interior designer who taught in the program I went through. So like dear friends of ours. And they said, come stay at our house. And so we never slept in that house again.
You sold it.
Yeah. And that's a whole nother story.
Wow. I was going to be one of my questions.
Mm-hmm.
So then the investigation starts, and, we've heard your heart about this, and we know that you don't know the age of these kids yet, but the investigation starts. Are you scared? Are you thinking, is this going to happen again? Are they coming back? What did that
I definitely was afraid.
Yeah.
Because
you had told?
Yeah. Like, are they really going to come?
Mm-hmm.
I don't really know what they're going to do. Like, I had really long hair at the time. I went and cut it off. I was like, are they looking for me? Everywhere I went, I was looking around. So are they out there? I don't know who these people are. They had driven our van at one point during the home invasion.
I was going to ask you, because did
like
two leave?
Two of them drove it down to the gas station and got a snack and came back. So we were like, well, I don't want to keep driving this van because I feel like if they see it, they might know that's me.
Yeah.
So we sold that, got a new one. Obviously didn't go back to the house, but within 4 weeks, they knew who it was and they went and arrested them at school. And getting that call was like, a weight off my shoulders.
Yeah. All right, guys, I told you Rachel's story was hard to hear, but there's hope in there. I know it. I hear it. You're going to hear the hope. Guys, I want to thank our sponsors real quick for helping making the happy hour possible. First up is ButcherBox. ButcherBox delivers healthy, 100% grass-fed and grass-finished beef, free-range organic chicken, and heritage breed pork directly to your door. What you do is you choose from curated boxes, including a mix of high-quality meats, or you can customize your own box. So you can choose what they suggest or say, you know what, all I need is beef this month. Whatever you choose, ButcherBox meats come from humanely raised animals that are never fed antibiotics, hormones, or fatty fillers. Plus, all their meat is frozen at the peak of freshness in individual, vacuum-packed, biodegradable packaging and shipped with a carefully calculated amount of dry ice to ensure that it remains frozen after it reaches your doorstep. Delivery is completely free, and you can choose your delivery frequency. Think of ButcherBox as your neighborhood butcher. Wouldn't it be fun to have a neighborhood butcher? Well, now you can have a neighborhood ButcherBox come to your door and whenever you want. They also have recipes available on the ButcherBox website, and videos are available to follow along on the ButcherBox YouTube channel. We recently had some ground beef delivered to our house. And number one, I love anything that is delivered to my house. Let me tell you, that is the truth. Number two, the meat tasted phenomenal. When you've had good meat, you really can tell a difference. And thirdly, we can pick when and how much meat we want throughout the summer when we're out of town or when we're busy. I love that they let you pick how much you want. Right now, you guys, you can get free bacon. Oh my gosh, who doesn't want free bacon? You can get free bacon and $20 off your first box by going to butcherbox.com/happy hour and enter happy hour at checkout. That's butcherbox.com/happy hour and enter happy hour for free bacon and $20 off your first box. Okay, not only do I want to thank ButcherBox, I also want to thank Third Love. They're supporting today's show. Armed with the measurements of millions of women, Third Love bras are designed to fit real women. I actually have several Third Love bras and I love them. Some of my friends who know me, they say, hey, we hear you talk about these bras. Do you actually really love it? And I say, I actually really love it. Third Love sent me a bra for free a long time ago, and I have since gone back and used my own hard-earned money and bought some more. The reason I love them so much is because I don't have to go into a fitting room. I don't have to have someone touching me all up in my business to see what kind of bra I need. With their Fit Finder quiz, Third Love helps you identify your breast shape and find styles that fit your body in less than a minute. All you do is answer a few simple questions. They've got 60 different sizes ranging from AA through G. You guys, they even have half cup sizing. Half cup. I love it. Third Love guarantees you a perfect fit, and they're perfect for the summer, you guys, because they have this smoothing fabrics. It's lightweight. You can wear them in the summer even when you're sweating because it's so dang hot outside. Plus, returns and exchanges are always free and easy. Third Love knows there's a perfect bra for everyone. So right now, they're offering my listeners, that's you guys, 15% off your first order. Go to thirdlove.com/Jamie right now to find your perfect fitting bra and get 15% off your first purchase. That's thirdlove.com/Jamie for 15% off. All right, you guys, here's the rest of my conversation with Rachel. So they arrested them at school. They're babies.
Yeah.
They're 15, 17. I have a 14-year-old. I mean,
I can't imagine.
No, imagine at all. You know, I jokingly all the time say teenagers are just stupid and dumb. And there are a lot of stupid things that they did, you know, obviously. What did you feel like when you found out their ages?
Kind of grossed out.
Yeah.
Also sad, mostly sad for them. Sad that this is going to ruin the rest of their life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So trial, they go to trial.
Eventually did. Yes. It took a long time.
Because like legal stuff?
Legal stuff takes forever. Several of them were trying to get tried as juveniles, but because of the nature of what they did, they all got bumped up to adult court. So that just it takes a long time.
Yeah.
Stuff gets pushed back. So it wasn't until a year later.
Wow.
That one of them pled not guilty And so it went to full trial and had to testify. And that was a healing process for sure. I think without that, I could have healed fine, but having to go through that all again, I think the most painful part of it was hearing the defense attorney at his closing argument tear me apart for my choice in it. Like I was what is the word?
Like you were a consensual
yeah,
part of this.
Yeah. And questioning my character, like maybe I had said yes to it and now I'm blaming it all on them. And
yes to 3 intruders.
Yeah. It was ludicrous, but still, I mean, I sat there so mad in that courtroom listening to him. Like I felt in that moment like he should be on trial with them because of the things he was saying like are not true.
Yeah.
Like how dare he say that about me?
Yeah.
So I really wrestled with that. That was probably the most emotional I was through the entire ordeal.
Yeah.
But it brought healing because it kept showing the truth. It kept confirming what I had gone through and the healing that had taken place. And I got to look all 3 of them in the face and forgive them. And I don't know what they thought in that moment. I wish I could know, like, do they think I'm crazy? Does God use that to speak to them? And even if it didn't that day, they now have 40 years in jail to think about it, which is really sad.
So getting up to that moment of saying, I forgive them, I mean, we're listening to you just going, how would anyone ever forgive that? How did you get there? Because I don't think you're going to say, I just immediately felt like I was going to forgive them. Did you?
I didn't know what to think.
Okay. How did you get to, I forgive you?
Everything combined. God is so much bigger than what they did. And it was like, they came and sin entered our lives through them. But God is bigger than that. And God brought so many good things, which we can take a moment to talk about those in the week. But like, who am I to say I'm not going to forgive them? Like God can forgive them. And God blessed our socks off after this happened. So like in that way, it almost made it like, of course I forgive them because now it's off of me.
Yeah.
But to go back, so, within that first week, we're staying at our friend's house. We had family, like both sets of me and my husband's parents came. They helped with the kids. About the 3rd day, we had a friend of ours call and say, like, I know that you guys don't want to go back to your house. So if you want, I'll buy it from you and just resell it so that you don't have to worry about trying to sell it.
Wow.
So it was like, okay, like, thank you. That same afternoon, we got together with a different set of friends and they said, we just got a call from someone who wants to remain anonymous and they heard about what happened to you and they want to buy you a house. Any house that you want.
Are you kidding me?
No. So it was amazing. It was like, what in the world? Like people just buy you houses.
Right.
And so like little things like that kept happening where it's like people just wanted to support us and lift us up. And it was like, we looked at each other and we're like, how do we feel like at our worst? And yet we're like so happy at the same time. Like, how is God bringing us joy where we know the whole world is at our back supporting us? And there's just these 3 guys that made a bad choice. Like, we have to move on in faith. Like, God is there with us.
Yeah.
And then I started wrestling with that. I'm like, but what about women around the world who are slaves? And this is their everyday. Yeah. They don't have people buying them houses. And I'm like, God, what now? Like, how do I just wrap this up in a pretty little bow? And, I struggle with someone feeling guilty for the good things that happened. I don't know what to do with that.
Have you done anything? Like does that change the way that you serve, the way that you do ministry, the way that you and your husband give money? Like, has that affected
I feel like for me, it has.
Yeah.
Like, that's definitely on my heart. But I don't think I'm there yet. Like, I think it's something that's going to be a lifelong care and concern for people that go through that. And like, even something like this, like I kind of told God from the beginning, like, I don't want to be like blasting my story because I feel like that's saying, look at me and what I went through. And this is what God did. Yeah. I was like, but if you open up those doors, like, my answer is yes. Yeah. So that's why I'm here.
Well, that's why you're on the happy hour. Well, I want to ask a question that everyone's wondering. How do you go from married with 4 children, endure something incredibly the most tragic thing you'll probably ever walk through in your entire life, 40 minutes of hell. How does intimacy come back with your marriage?
I didn't know how that would work.
Yeah.
I didn't know. I was like, now what? How do I have sex without thinking about those? And
I'm going to ask you another personal question real quick. Were you a virgin when you got married?
Yes.
Okay.
So this is my one and only, my man. Like, I don't know anything else besides that. And so I wrestled with that of like, oh my goodness, I had sex with these other men. And the one therapist I spoke to, she's like, what happened that night was not sex. That was them having power over your body. And that is not what sex is. And so that was so freeing for me. Like, okay, like that wasn't an intimate experience. That was just them
abusing you,
showing off their angry power and using my body to do it. But that's not sex.
Yeah.
And so, Simon was so gentle those first couple days. Like, he didn't even touch me because he didn't know, like, is it okay? Like, one time he like touched my arm and he's like, is that okay? And I was just like, oh, I love that. I love that you're being so sensitive. And he treated me so well those first few days, and even said stuff like, I'm sorry I ever yelled at you. And he's like, I'll never yell at you again. I'm like, oh my goodness, stop. That's obviously not true. Like, we're going to still have disagreements. I know. Thank you. I'll take it in this moment.
Did he ever have any guilt for not being home?
Oh my goodness. If you can imagine, like, he's your husband. His job is to love and protect my wife. And he had even said stuff before, like, if anyone ever broke into our house and hurt my wife or my kids, like, I'd kill him.
So that leads me to...
Isn't true.
Right. But that leads me to, I know you forgave them.
Mm-hmm.
Does he say that he does forgive them?
I think so.
You think so? He didn't ever have to look at them and say that, but
no, he didn't.
He's not coming on the show because, we don't have men, but
no.
If Simon were to be on the show, I would ask him that.
I would. And you know what? It's one of those things that like life just kind of went on. And that would actually be a good conversation for us to have.
Maybe I don't really get in your RV.
Yeah. It's like, we should have that conversation. Just, I don't know where he's at with that. I think because they were found, they were convicted, it makes it easier for him to maybe feel like he forgave them because they got justice. When it comes down to his heart, I don't know.
Yeah. Is it hard for you guys to talk about this, or do you ever?
No, it's not hard. We're pretty open about it.
Yeah.
But back to the intimacy thing.
Yes, please finish.
Okay. So I would say within those first 2 weeks, he treated me so good. I found myself physically desiring to be with him.
Yeah.
Which totally surprised me because I was like, I'm so drawn to you right now because you are treating me so good and serving me and loving me the way that a husband should.
Yeah.
So it didn't take long.
Yeah.
But obviously it was different because it was so close to what had just happened that it was like, there's certain things that are definitely off limits now because of what happened and the way that they did it.
Really?
So like certain positions, I'm like, no,
and they had been on limits before.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's not saying that will never change.
For sure.
But I don't want that to affect my intimacy with him. And if I'm thinking about that during it, that's not the best closeness.
Yeah.
So for now, that's just like, that's the way it is.
Yeah. And that's okay. Intense therapy.
And I wanted to talk about that.
Yeah.
If we have time to unwrap it, because
I want to say this too, as you talk about it. There is no doubt there are people listening that have endured rape. And so I want to hear you talk about it, and I want you to encourage them as well.
Yes. I am so thankful. There was an acquaintance of ours, Karen, and she had lost her husband in a tragic way where she was there and saw him die. And she ended up having almost like PTSD symptoms where her body was freaking out. And she had been recommended to an EMDR specialist, which stands for, I'll make sure I say it right, eye movement desensitization and reprocessing. Okay, so it could sound hokey if you don't know what it is.
I know what it is because in the adoption world, this is common for therapy. Go ahead.
So, it could be used in adoption. It could be used for veterans. But I was fascinated by the science of it. And she actually said, I'm going to take you to your first session, which I so appreciate. And really the body of Christ is amazing. And not just people like, what can I do to help you? Or giving you a Bible verse. Like, she took action. And she's like, I'm taking you. I'm paying for it. I was like, okay.
Yeah, let's go.
Okay, I'm going. But if I can explain the science of this, because I think if there are people listening, they might pass it off as like, I've been to counselors.
This is different though.
This is different. So to explain the way your brain works, when you go through your day, you have memories, you have experiences. When you go to sleep at night, REM cycle of sleep, your brain takes those things, files them away in basically filing systems based on what it's connected to in your life. And that's how your brain stores information. So when you have a trauma event, obviously for me, that was that night being raped. For my husband, it could be the moment I told him. For someone who lost a loved one, it could be getting that call on the phone. Like trauma is an event that stands out from anything else. And when you have that event, you go to sleep that night, your brain's like, whoa, this is not like anything else. We can't file this. So basically there is this event floating around in your brain, just waiting for your body to like smell something, feel something that takes it back. And it just comes like, oh my goodness, I'm back in that moment right now.
Yeah. Because
it hasn't been processed correctly. So EMDR is a process. It's not hypnosis. It's not anything like that. It's purely scientific that helps your brain make new pathways and neurons to basically create a new file for that experience. And I was just like, whoa, that is so cool. They say it has the best effect if you do it within the first like 4 to 6 weeks, which I was
of a traumatic event
of the event. So like, it can be effective at any point.
Yeah.
But that obviously the closer you are to when it happened, the best response you get. So I was able to do it within that first month, first like 2 months. And, so it was like walking through what happens, very, very specific things like smells, touches, feelings that I had during it, and thinking about those things specifically while it sounds so weird, but
I know what you're going to say.
Tapped left and right on my knees, and going left and right makes your left and right brain fire and our new like neurons and makes those new pathways. So I went those times, and then I went back like a couple months later just for a few things that I was like, this is still coming to mind. Like when I see this or when I hear certain things, and working through those things again. And it was amazing. So we've recommended several people since for different things that have gone, and it's amazing.
It's not like weird, guys. It is real. I know. I am aware of this and have several friends that have used this after traumatic events, for sure. Even one of my little buddies has been through it in a counseling session.
I actually took one of my daughters once, and she was only 5 because she was having this like severe separation anxiety.
Yeah.
And we took her, and like for her, it wasn't an immediate, like she got better, but it worked. Like it was amazing.
Yeah. So you're doing all of this in the year before that trial. And so by the time you get, this is what we need to remember also, by the time you get to that trial, you have worked so much on your healing. So I'm sure that helped you endure that time.
Yes.
Did they all 3 go to trial?
So the only one went through full trial with a jury, everything like that. The other 2 ended up pleading guilty. So I just had to go to a sentencing and could make a statement.
And so you looked at them and said, I forgive you. What else did you say?
That I'd be praying for them and that I was sorry for them and the choice that they made.
Did you say anything like you hurt me and my family, or they knew that?
I think they know that.
Yeah. 40 years, all of them. How does that feel? I mean, beyond, because the justice, but then you're also looking at a 15-year-old kid. How does that feel for you? And has that been at wrestle?
I have wrestled with it because I think my whole thought process was like, I don't know what the right punishment is, so I'm going to release this to the courts and like not make any recommendation about what should happen either way. And so did
they ask you for a recommendation?
That's what at sentencing, like that's basically your chance to say like, I think they need more time or set them free. You could say whatever you wanted. And so that was my thought, like just let happen what the court has decided is the right punishment for people that do this. But of course, there's been times where I'm like, well, if this had happened to Jesus, that's kind of always go to, well, Jesus wasn't a woman and he wasn't married. There's different factors. But I'm like, what if he said, forgive them and set them free? So yes, I have wondered, like, was that the right thing just to let it happen? Or should have I asked for grace because they're so young, because they have a life ahead of them? And now, I can't go back. I can't change it, but I can pray that while they're there, that God will use that time to show himself to them, that they will get help that they need, that there will be Christians who are there and visiting them, or, you know, maybe somebody else.
Was there family? Did they have family at all of the trial and sentencing?
Some. They came from a lot of broken homes. So there was different people there. I don't know who everyone was, but there was some. There was one of them that I could tell had more support than the others, and hearing them cry when the sentencing was given, and it was a heartbreaking moment.
I'm sure it was. How are you going to talk to your kids about this one day?
I don't know. And I remember thinking the very first week, you know, like obviously the kid's salvation, like that's my, you know, my number one priority is my kids being saved. And I had the thought, like, if we get to the point where we tell them this, and this is what like points them to Jesus, like it was worth it. And I'm hoping it doesn't take that long. You know, I hope that they stay close to Jesus regardless. But I don't know. It will be a very interesting discussion and walking them through that. But I'm so excited for them to put all the pieces together. In their minds, they're like, we got robbed. We got a new house. Like, sweet. So letting them put those pieces together, and then like they'll be old enough and mature enough to know, like, wow, like that's the walk that my parents had. And that's why everything happened the way it did. I'm sure they'll be heartbroken, but I hope that they are like so built up and challenged to do the same in their lives.
What's it like for you now when you stay home by yourself?
It took a long time before I stayed home overnight alone. And I was actually telling a friend yesterday about the first night that I did. Like in the middle of the night, there was actually something that fell into my kitchen sink. And like it could have set our, we had an alarm. An alarm was great for that time. Like I loved a security system, but like somehow it didn't set off the alarm from the glass break noise.
Oh, the glass broke.
Well, like it was a glass, like it didn't break, but like it was loud.
Yes,
like it could have set that off and it didn't. If it would have, I probably would have been freaking out. But somehow I heard that sound, and like I think it was only God. Like I willed myself to go back to sleep. I didn't even go look.
You didn't even go look.
And I was like, I'm just going to go back to sleep. You know? And in the morning, seeing that this little vase had fallen off my windowsill into the sink. And I'm like, if that isn't Satan trying to mess with me, I don't know what that is.
You're like not today.
So there's little things like that have happened. But generally I'm okay with it. Now we've obviously moved to Florida. I've lived there over a year now, and it's amazing like how even more free I am. Like now I don't drive by that house every day and I used to. So I never think about it. But even just a couple weeks ago, my husband was out of town and I stayed up late sewing. And that was what I did the night that they broke into our house. And I hadn't had that same exact like scenario where I stayed up late and he wasn't there. And I had this like moment where I'm like kind of took my breath away. Like, oh my goodness, I'm staying up late sewing.
Just like
and he's not here, you know? So I texted him. I said, will you pray for me? I'm staying up late sewing. And so he did. And, or, you know, I try to stay level headed. I try not to let my emotions or the what ifs run away with me. I stayed up and I finished my sewing.
Well, you seem like a very level headed person. I mean, you know, throughout your whole story. Yeah. Is it hard for you to tell it?
No, it's not hard. I just always wonder if I like remember to tell the right details. Like, you know, you want to be a good storyteller. So it's always like, oh, am I telling this like the best way that it doesn't sound scary, or that it unfolds the right way? Or am I telling too much or not enough?
For sure.
Like, so I haven't told it enough that I have it like it's the same way that I say it every time.
Right.
So I just pray every time, like, okay, God, let the words come out the way you want them to.
Well, I'm telling you, even just hearing your story today, and I told you I read the police reports, and so it was just horrific, obviously. And then hearing in the email that was sent, and then hearing you even say that you forgave them, I think as a Christ follower, having not been through this, I'm like, well, sure, I mean, I can forgive someone who hurts me really bad, or like a woman who's thinking, how do I forgive my husband who had an affair? And sometimes you're like, well, if God can forgive me of all my sins, I can forgive them. And I think, I mean, I think that when it becomes sexual, it becomes even harder.
It's different though too. And I think about those situations where it's easier in my sitting, not that it's like ever easy to forgive, but there's different things that you have to live with. Like if you see your husband every day and he's the one you have to forgive, That's like you're forgiving every
Every
day.
day.
Where in this situation, it was someone we didn't know. There was closure. There was all these other blessings that came. And it was like, it was easier to let it go.
Yeah.
But there's like, our family has walked through some other things with people that we trusted that broke that trust, like with one of our children. And it's like, oh, how do we move on now? Yes.
Yeah.
Because that's
interesting.
the long run. That's like, you got to live with that, and you got to work through, like, what do we do now? And we see these people and we talk to these people. So yeah, it's all different.
I never thought about that, that you do have a lot of closure in your situation. Yeah.
Yeah.
So if someone is listening and they have endured and been sexually assaulted, raped, if you could say one, what do you want to say to them?
I think probably, I was trying to think about that ahead of time. Like, what can you take away? How can you encourage people? And I think a lot of people, we were in a setting where we had such good counsel, where we had like a psychologist telling us, like, this is what you should do and the steps you should take. If we didn't have that, we probably would have stayed to ourselves more. If we didn't have the body of Christ coming to help us, we wouldn't have had that same kind of love and joy that we felt. So I think if you don't have a community, you're not going to have the same kind of healing. So like, I think that talking about it, telling people, you have to get help. We think that we're maybe like, we don't want to bother people with our story or act like we're needy. But I think that is, and I've heard that before. People always say, tell someone, talk to somebody. And they're right. Like you do.
Yeah.
You have to. And if people give you advice, taking it. Like there was one counselor that I went to that was recommended to me, and I didn't get much out of it, honestly. Yeah. And then I went to the EMDR, but I still went. Yeah. I still tried. Yeah. And if there was one little thing that helped me from that, well, then that's good. Yeah. It wasn't a wasted effort. So reach out and say yes to the things that God puts before you, whether it's someone coming to help you or offering you a meal. Like, say, okay, say yes.
And there can be hope again. There's hope on the other side.
Definitely. A word that my husband likes to use in his line of work is like liberation, where it's freedom, liberation. They're so much the same, but he likes the word liberate better. Like, it's like the setting free of the imprisonment and casting off of the chains and moving forward and be liberated. Yeah.
Because seriously, if you walk through the rest of your days, you've got a lot of days left on this earth, probably. If you walked through them chained to this, it would be miserable for the rest of your life.
Yeah. And I really think one thing that this did bring about was like the realization. I know that people can go through something like this and solely rely on God's word and the church to be their support, and that they can still find healing 100%. I also now fully realize the value of like psychologists and people that have gotten the education on how your brain works and have heard so many documented cases of these things. They have such wisdom to offer that a pastor might not know that side of it. Yeah. Not saying that God can't come along and fill in those gaps.
100%.
But we go to a medical doctor. Yep. And we use their help. And like, I feel like so much the same is true for situations like this. Like they can basically predict exactly the steps you're going to go through. And that way you can get support as you go through it. Yeah. So
we need a brain doctor and a trauma doctor.
Yes.
Okay. I'm telling you, I hope as people listen, and I'm going to ask you what you're loving, but it just seems weird to ask you what you're loving after this. But my hope, and I told you this before we started, is just that women would be encouraged, even if you've never walked through this kind of situation. It's encouraging to listen to someone walk through something so hard and still have hope on the other side and see God work in their lives.
And if there is someone that has gone through it and hasn't talked to someone that has gone through it, I just thought that was a part of my story I didn't share. Like within 2 weeks, God arranged it that I ended up being at the same place as a lady who had gone through something extremely similar. And we got to sit down with her and her husband and talk about it. And it was like, someone gets it. And I feel like that's something that, you can talk to like psychologists and everything, but actually talking to someone that's been through it. So like, if there is someone that's gone through it and hasn't talked to someone else that has gone through the same thing as you, like, email me.
I'm like, are you going to give out your number right
yes,
here?
Like, call me, or we can set something up, because it's different once you've gone through things. And I mean, you've adopted.
Yeah.
You know that it's different talking to other parents that have adopted than just parents who don't adopt.
Yep, exactly.
Once you go through something, you're on the same page.
It is. You have something in common for sure. Okay. What 3 things are you loving?
Okay. I don't know if you noticed, I'm wearing Fabletics leggings today.
Are they Fabletics?
Because I listened to one of your podcasts and like literally it got done and I got on the website and ordered 2
Yay. Okay. I'm going to come over here and touch them.
Yes. So they're super like
good.
feminine and floral. And they're
Now, are you a Fabletics, like you're going to go work out, or you're just going to wear these because you're...
Oh, these are like my mom pants.
Okay, I like it.
My friends and I joke that you have to put, these are like your get it done pants. Shout out to Danielle, because that's what she calls them. Like, you can't bend over and pick up your kids' toys if you're wearing jeans all day.
You're exactly right.
So yes, that's I love them.
Okay.
Second thing is you can get them at Walmart, Target, anywhere. These like corkscrew hair spirals. Have you ever seen those?
Explain.
I have them in my hair right now. You can take one out and you can see it. It's like a little corkscrew. You make your hair in a bun and then you screw it into your hair. There's
so you
2
don't have
of
a
them.
rubber band.
There's no rubber band and it holds it perfectly in place.
I'm watching you screw this into your bun.
I love them. I've used them for years. So I was like, yes, I should tell about that. Number 3, naps.
Yours or your kids?
Oh, both.
I saw a thing today that said, I regret every nap I cried about as a kid.
Like, yes. I was not a nap taker growing up, but I take them if I can now. Little ones, 20 minutes.
I'm like a 12-minute napper too.
Yeah.
A lot
it makes
of times
a big difference.
I'll finish work at 3 and my daughter gets home off the bus at like 3:30 and I'll walk over, lay down for like 12 minutes.
There you go.
And I'm like dead asleep, 12 minutes.
Yep.
It's the best. What are you reading?
I just started a book called Triggers by Amber Leah. It's a parenting book that talks about how to deal with your kids when they're not doing what you want.
Oh man, don't we? That's every day, right? So how do we deal with our daily life?
So, and I just love, it's broken down into really short chapters. And so far it's just like such practical, good Bible-based teaching. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, I'm only like 3
chapters. You mean those
in.
beautiful kids that got out of that RV, they do wrong things?
You want to come ride with the next 10 hours with me?
Oh my gosh. Girl, thank you.
Oh, thank you so much.
I thank you for telling your story. Thank you for being vulnerable. I say all the time, stories change the world. And the reason they do that is because somebody gets to see God work in your life. Someone gets to not feel alone if they've been through something tragic.
They overcome evil by the power of our testimony.
There you go. That's what
100%.
it says. That's what it says. So thank you for doing that today.
You're welcome.
I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Armed with the measurements of millions of women, Third Love scrapped the standard bra cut molds and developed their own. With sizes ranging from AA through G, they guarantee a perfect fit. Plus, returns and exchanges are always free. Third Love knows there's a perfect bra for everyone, including you. So right now they're offering all of my listeners, which that's you listening, 15% off your first order. Go to thirdlove.com/Jamie to find your perfect fitting bra and get 15% off your first purchase. That's thirdlove.com/Jamie for 15% off. All right, you guys, you made it to the end, which means you heard the hope and the redemption that Rachel talked about. I loved how she spoke directly to the woman who may have been hurt before. If that's you, I want you to know that you're not alone. I want you to know that Rachel gets it. And more importantly, Jesus understands. And I hope you find some amazing counseling. When she said, "Who am I not to forgive them? God can forgive them." I thought I was just going to start crying right then. Guys, her story is tragic. It's very tragic. But her journey of walking through this towards restoration, forgiveness, it's super encouraging and hopeful. It's full of hope. Guys, don't forget, we've got our book club going on and Happy Hour Live tickets are up for sale. Go to jamieivey.com/events. Today's show was edited by Chris with Podshaper and the music was developed for the Happy Hour by Matt Graham. Next week, my guest is Amina Brown Owen. You're going to love it. Guys, enjoy your week. Share the show with a girlfriend and have a happy hour with a friend.